Welcome back to another episode of Cappuccino Chat. This time we're talking about breaches, and more breaches. That's right. Unfortunately, we're talking about breaches yet again. It seems like every time we turn on the news, either, via the web or TV, we're hearing about some other company having their data breached. Why is this happening? The biggest reason is, just like with Google and Microsoft and all the others, data is king. Everybody wants the data. They're not coming after you personally or your company specifically, unless you're a big company and you probably are being targeted. But for the most part, we're all being thrown into the same net, if you will, and being gone after because our data is valuable. It's not nothing personal against us. It's just they want our data. So some of the companies lately that have been breached, McDonald's, Office Depot, LinkedIn again for the, I don't know, I lost track of how many times LinkedIn's been breached. And you may be saying, that's no big deal, but how often have you gone to McDonald's and maybe you've swiped your ATM card or your credit card, or you signed up for some club of the month or something to get a free coupon, or signed into their app so you can order ahead of time? That data is what was breached. So using that data, could they somehow steal your identity? Maybe. They might be able to learn something more about you in order to get you to do something and give them more access. Maybe you reuse your password. That will let them into other things. Again, their goal is to get your data. Once they get you, they want to use you to find out who your friends are and who those friends and friends are, so on and so forth. Because again, they want the data. The more data they can get, the more people they can infect, the better off they are and the more money they can make. It is a business to them. Unfortunately, in today's world, it's just a business to them. It's nothing personal. That's how they want to make their money, right? So these breaches are very serious and we can get caught up into them. That's why we're constantly talking to you, our clients. And if you're a prospect, when we have our meetings and you maybe book a discovery call to talk with me about, I'm going to bring up security to you because it is so important in today's business. None of us want to lose everything that we've worked so hard for, all of our family, might be a family business, all that stuff, on something silly that could have been prevented either free or very cost effectively and would have stopped the breach from happening to your business. Some of those things are just, training, talking to your employees about these different breaches and making them aware of it. And I don't like using fear as, a way to get people to do things, but unfortunately there's a little sense of urgency to this. And that's why we get the fear. You got to understand that it is dangerous. Something bad could happen to you. But I'd kind of like to change this up a little bit. Now, I'm half Polish, and my wife tells me all the time that I do everything backwards. So we're going to look at this a little bit differently. So if we take into account, and every time one of these breaches come up, if we assume we have been breached in the same manner. So if we assume our data was breached, what damage would that cause? Right? So let's just take that, hey, they've got your password. So if I told you right now, I have your bank account and password, what would you do? You'd change your password, right? You'd log on, change your password to something different, and go on. Well, if we assumed the breach ahead of time, so let's just say we assumed that at some point your password was going to get compromised. So because we knew that it was a possibility, we enabled two-factor authentication on your bank account, or a second signature to request a withdrawal or a bank transfer, right? These are different things we could do for our bank. Well, then, assuming the breach, when we hear about it in the news, we don't have to stress out about it if that's how you do, or oh, that never happens to me. You can just say, oh, I've got that handled, because with two-factor authentication turned on, roughly 90% of some of the breaches that have happened in the past could have been prevented from users having two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication enabled on their accounts. I just read this from a government study from someone working within the White House in years past. They said that a lot of these breaches are just simple to solve by enabling two-factor authentication. So I've been talking to my clients for well over a year to get two-factor authentication enabled wherever they can. Anything that's cloud definitely needs to have it. Bank account, any cloud applications you use, your email, VPN, all those things need to be secured by two-factor. Again, using the assume you've been breached thing, when you hear about those breaches, hey, my phone didn't go off and request two-factor, or they would have had to have a PIN, you're going to be good to go. Okay. So another thing, they want your data, or maybe you're going to get a ransomware, so they're going to encrypt all your data. Let's assume that happens. So if we role played it right now, and right now all of your computers, your server, everything got encrypted, how would you recover? What would it cost your company? How long would that take, et cetera, et cetera? Well, if you had a proper backup solution and a business continuity disaster recovery solution, not just a backup like a USB hard drive, because I got news for you. That USB hard drive that's plugged into your computer that just got ransomware now has ransomware. So in other words, that backup is completely useless. It's encrypted, can't be used. So if we use a different type of backup, back up the ones and zeros, back it up to an appliance that also backs up to the cloud, that also scans for ransomware while it's backing up. If we assume the breach when it happens, we know we can recover. Now, we're still going to be down. There's still going to be downtime, but what is the ultimate damage to your company? Hey, we didn't lose any data for your company. You've rebuilt. If you didn't have that kind of solution and you didn't role play and assume the breach, you might be caught off guard and your business would lose everything. So when you hear about these breaches, let's start thinking, hey, if this happened to me, what would I be protected? What would I need to do to recover from this breach? If you'd like any help with that, planning that out, please reach out to me, 760-770-5200. We'd be glad to help.